Hi, good morning and welcome everyone. So today we're joined by Brad Valiukas, the Managing Director of Kaiser Reef Limited, a very fast growing Eastern States gold miner with a very clear strategy focused on exploration, development and production. Look, Brad is a highly experienced mining engineer with over 25 years of industry experience covering both underground and open pit operations across multiple operations and across Australia and internationally. His track record impressively includes senior roles at companies like Northern Star Resources, Focus Minerals and Mincor Resources, where he's been involved in multiple mine startup and operational turnarounds. Under his leadership today, Brad's going to talk to us about the Henty Gold Mine in Tasmania and is advancing Maldon Gold Project in Victoria's historic Golden Triangle, which is positioning the company for historic growth. Brad, welcome.
Gia, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, look, Brad, I have a question to ask you. Sure. You have worked with one of the WA legends in gold mining, Bill Beament. How was that like there?
I spent 5 years at Northern Star. That was a very, very exciting time. We were betting in the acquisitions of Jundee and multiple operations in Kalgoorlie and then ultimately to Alaska. Fantastic. Massive growth trajectory and growth profile, and Bill's a very, very dynamic guy and knows exactly what he wants and works very hard to get it. Not afraid to stretch some targets as well.
Wonderful.
But you know, super good at putting in the right people and resources around the business to make sure it can achieve what it sets out to do. And I think that's super important.
Thank you, Brad. Well, look, today's all about you now, so I want to segue into all of this. Can you start off by telling us a little bit more about Kaiser Reef and who you are as a company?
Yeah, so Kaiser's been around for a little while now, about 5 years, but the last 6 months has really been transformational. So we've announced the acquisition and obviously gone through and completed the acquisition of the Henty Gold Mine.
Yes.
We raised $30 million, and I think when we announced that first of all, we were on a market cap of about 25, so the investor support to effectively raise more than our market cap to do that transaction was fantastic. We've been really successful in now bedding in Henty and making some improvements. We've had a great first quarter of production. In terms of what Kaiser already had, we've made some tough decisions on the A1 operation, which I think is really important, that we're obviously streamlining the company and preparing it to further growth and establishing that strong base. And then we've got our Maldon Gold Project, which we've just been doing some drilling on and ready for more news on that. But effectively now we're sitting with a great development and exploration asset in Maldon and a fantastic production base with still lots of upside at Henty. So.
Well, look, something that really stands out about Kaiser here is that you're actually in production. This is not speculation. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did 8,000 ounces at Henty last month. I'd like to think we do high 20s to 30,000 ounces for this financial year, and certainly I think we'll be doing 30,000 ounces plus after this financial year. And we just released a reserve resource statement yesterday talking about how we're going to push that along. So we have a fantastic production base. So in terms of an asset on which to build the company, revenue is fantastic. Obviously great gold price environment, but regardless, revenue is fantastic.
I mean, how does that, I guess the next question I want to really talk about is, look, the gold sector's been gaining strong momentum, except for 2 days ago. How is Kaiser actually positioning itself to capture this cycle? I mean, the fact that you're in production doesn't mean you actually get to, I guess, sell the gold at today's prices.
Yeah, so we're capturing the cycle right now. So one of the big things we're doing at Henty is trying to put a little bit more resilience into the operation. So anybody that goes back and looks through our previous announcements will see we've talked very much about getting throughut rates up, getting the production rates up for underground. We're well on the track for all of that, debottlenecking some of the historic restrictions on that project that have been in place now for 20 years. So all of that's in progress. We've had some good early success. We've made lots of commitments as well, and so there's lots of work ongoing as part of that. So effectively using the environment right now where we're making good money, being able to invest a little bit of that back into the project, still put good cash in the bank and build resilience in that business.
I mean, we'll talk about it later. Actually, in fact, I want to talk about it now. You've built a really solid foundation with your cash position and a $190 million market cap. I guess I really want to know, how much cash do you have in the bank right now? I have your deck, but more importantly, perhaps for our investors, they'd like to know. And how is that going to support your growth plans moving forward?
So given our quarterly is due out very shortly, I can't sit here and tell you our cash in the bank right now.
Okay.
I'd get in trouble for doing that.
Okay, you're confident though, you're smiling.
Yeah, but fair to say, Henty's making really good money at the current gold price, and is setting us up really well to continue to build the company, both with the assets that we have and hopefully we get a bit of money in the kitty and we can grow the business other ways as well.
What does that mean for shareholders, right? With obviously the fact that you're in production, you have cash, you have a strong market cap. Does that mean less dilution for our shareholders?
Yeah, so the raise that we did earlier this year that was well supported, and the second half of that raise, the majority of that raise came through in mid-May when we actually did the deal. I mean, subject to another acquisition, which obviously we'd expect to be accretive and somewhere where we think we can add value. There's no expectation that we go back and tap the market whatsoever. So I think for anybody that's looking at us, the way to get a part of us is to buy on market. Which is an awesome position to be in. It
certainly is. Now look, Kaiser has been both a producing gold mine and major growth project. How do these two pillars actually fit into now your long-term strategy? You've got Maldon and then you've got Henty as well.
Yeah, so it's sort of like two legs of the company now. Henty has been around for a little while, and anybody that knows the projects knows that part of what we're mining there is some remnant material. We're getting extensions as well, and we've just committed to a second drill rig there as well, and we're going to drill out the top. So we think we can keep extending the resource and the reserve there for quite some time to come. Henty's produced 1.4 million ounces in total up to current times. Maldon's produced 1.75 million ounces, so there's 100 shafts there, half a dozen substantial mines that have all been agglomerated and sit under our mining list. And then that is open in all sorts of directions along multiple structures. So the amount of upside at Maldon is huge. I'm not taking away from Henty at all here.
They're both your children.
Yeah, and between our Henty mine and you get down to Queenstown, Mount Lyell, we've got 50% of the strike along that. There's numerous old surface workings and for both copper and gold and some other base metals in there as well, and Henty does have a strong base metal signature, so we get some copper and some lead and some zinc associated with the ore. So we think Henty still has a lot of potential, but Maldon sitting there, nobody's really done justice to the project as a whole and the bigger exploration picture there. So I think we can turn Maldon into something very, very substantial.
And talk to me more about the grade. I had a brief look at the deck and that we're talking substantially high grades there. Is that right?
At Maldon, the entirety of that 1.75 million ounces, we're talking about what was mined from reefs, so quartz reefs underground. Got mined at 28 grams per tonne. Nuggety to the north as part of that. I think has been Australia's highest grade, substantial underground mine. Fantastic grades. There's been 300,000 plus ounces of alluvial material also mined over the top, so there's more production there than just that 1.75. But again, it has a chance to be pretty fantastic.
Sounds promising. Now look, you already discussed that Henty has already delivered over 8,000 ounces in its first full quarter. What other key operational improvements are actually behind that result?
Yeah, so the results for the quarter strongly influenced by the fact that we've kept doing the grade control and the more detailed work around that stoping. So that's really helped to elevate the grades through that time. Part of the reason we've committed to the second drill rig coming in is because we intend to keep doing that. So our single diamond rig, when we picked up the project that was there, will stay focused on grade control and infill, and a little bit of probe drilling around some of the old excavations. The second rig lets us take that step out to exploration and resource extension. So just the detailed work that's gone in there, and I think a little bit of new blood and eyes and enthusiasm coming to the project helps as well.
And look, I was informed that with the acquisition of your projects, that there wasn't much capital expenditure needed because a lot of the resources was already and the infrastructure was already established.
Yeah, that is correct for Henty, and maybe we can talk about Maldon a little bit in that way as well in a minute. So obviously great, processing plant, surface infrastructure. I think we're looking at like $100 million to replace all of that there. That puts the transaction metrics into context. We think it was a great deal. In terms of the underground, it's been really well set up. It was run by Placer and Barrick for a long time. So existing declines and capital in the ground has been fantastic. Capital in the ground in terms of drilling is also great. We picked up a 450,000 ounce resource and 150,000 ounce reserve when we picked it up. I mean, that's all a result of money spent and in the ground, and we're getting the benefit from that now. Doesn't mean we can sit back and just milk it like a cow. We've got to keep I don't know if I should quite say it like that, but we've got to keep investing into the project, and hence why we've gone back up to two drill rigs. We've committed to extending some of our drill platforms so we can drill out the cradle zone and get through the tearaway fault and do some work there. And we'll be back on the surface doing exploration through this financial year as well.
And then talking about drilling, since the acquisition, you've actually increased reserve by 30% and extended the mine life by 6 years. First and foremost, I want to know, how did you increase this reserve by 30%? And how significant is this for Kaiser's production profile?
I'll do the last bit first. So obviously when we picked it up, and we restated the reserve, and we were quite happy with what was there, but it was getting close to a year old at that stage, 150, so 5-year life expectation, a little bit of depletion through that time. So just in terms of giving people comfort that we've got an ongoing production pipeline there at Henty for a substantial period of time, and as I said, we expect to just keep adding to that now. In terms of how we get that little bit extra,
not a little bit, 30%.
Yeah, 30%. It's pretty good. I think that's just a little bit more diligence in terms of making sure we capture absolutely everything. That process probably took a little bit longer than I would have liked it to because of that extra work that's gone in. So
was that part of the strategy behind the acquisition, that you had, I guess, the foresight or the belief with your previous experience that there could be more?
Yeah, so a combination of yes and no. So first of all, I'd say if all that was there was 150 and we were going to deplete that, we would still potentially pay that acquisition cost back multiple times. So in terms of a base to build Kaiser, being somewhere to make great cash flow, and we obviously picked it up. Gold price had been, just over 5,000 Aussie at that time, but we were certainly, looking back and evaluating it well back into the fours. So we thought it was a great deal. Regardless, yes, we certainly knew there was always upside there, and upside in productivity and production as well.
And I guess now touching on the gold price, we've had a bit of a pullback in the last 48 hours. Some people say it's natural. I want to know what's your, I guess, forecast on this, once in a life potential gold bull run we're seeing, and where do you see the prices in the next 18 months?
Yeah, so in terms of the pullback that we've seen, as I just touched on, we obviously considered Henty, the whole project, at a much, much lower gold price.
Okay.
So for us, there's no concerns whatsoever.
Great.
Forecasting the gold price is always fraught with danger, and if everyone could get it right, it would be great. I actually thought in terms of this leg up now, and it was due for a bit of a breakout in terms of the way it had been trading. I actually thought it'd hit 4,000 and then sort of come back to a solid base of about 3,800. So the fact that it's been up to 4,300 and we're sitting now at 4,100 US dollars, of course, I think is just fantastic. And I don't think the bigger geopolitical issues have gone anywhere. And I think the way China's setting up to have gold as part of their international trading, and the risks of the US as a reserve currency, regardless of what happens with individual trade wars. I think there's some things that happen there that probably encourage gold to go the way it has, but I think the macro is still largely the same. But rest assured, in terms of running the business, obviously we can't bank on that, and nor can we run the business on that case. So our reserve's still done at a at a $4,000 Aussie gold price, which means we've got a massive margin to the current price on that there now. The reserve that we did previously when Catalyst had done it, that's some incremental material that came in at sort of a 1.75 gram cut-off. Our cut-off grade was firmly at 2, so you know, we're at least as robust as that previous process was, and we're very robust in terms of how much margin is sitting there.
Thank you, Brad. I guess what you're really trying to say is that the project was profitable irrespective of where the gold prices were going to pull back, because you've already considered 4,000 Australian dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. And look, you've commenced drilling and identified clear mine and regional targets. How much more upside do you actually see at Henty? I mean, you're extracting another 30%. How much more can we go?
So I have to be careful about what I say here, and certainly there's some internal targets, the cradle zone that sits over the top. I think, you know, the best thing I can say is that Henty's produced 1.4 million ounces. Anybody who looks at one of our long sections and sees that cradle zone sitting over the top. Admittedly, the numbers in there aren't as good as some of the absolute glory days that Henty's had in the past, but I think there's a lot of robust material that's there, and we could easily add multiple years of production from that area.
Yes.
Down at the bottom in Darwin as well, certainly that Darwin South and what's not shown in the long section, sort of up along some of the structures, there's certainly upside there as well, and then even on the Reed zone there's some pretty good drilling there that remains very, very open. We've put a little bit of our reserve back into that area, but there's a pretty good exploration target there as well. And
look, so just to clarify, so Henty is in Tasmania, and Maldon is in Victoria.
Correct.
In the Golden Triangle, right? Yeah. And look, you're an Eastern States story. Normally it's WA based with all the gold story. How does it make you feel? And are you actually based also in the East Coast?
I'm actually based in Perth, and I have been based in Perth for a long time. I'm from Sydney originally, so you know, as a little kid, you know, used to be in the city a lot, and so love the harbour and the views that we have out the back here now. I think in terms of you know, where you're based, so we could certainly base ourselves in Melbourne, which would be somewhere around the middle of those operations. But it's been IMARC this week in Sydney. I'm about to go down to Tasmania. I'll spend a week and a half on site. So, you know, if I'm based in an office in Perth versus Melbourne, it doesn't really make much difference. But spending the time on site, being involved in the operations, you know, that's where we get that interaction and that detailed knowledge of what's going on. So,
but it's also a wonderful story. What I'm trying to get at is that, you know, you're an East Coast gold story with head office in the East Coast, and most of our members, investors are also from the East Coast as well. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah.
And look, I want to talk about now, look, I said it earlier, Maldon is at the heart of Victoria's Golden Triangle, and it's produced 1.75 million ounces historically. What actually excites you the most about bringing this project back up to life, and what makes you so bullish that you're going to actually extract more value from it?
So the bullishness is probably just how many zones of ore there was there historically, and then just how open all of that is. So, you know, it's exploration's always got a risk, right? So not everything's going to be successful, but the number of targets, the number of structures that run through there, the number of zones where there's been good grade, you know, feel very confident that we'll be able to make something quite substantial there. Sure.
And what sort of news flow can I expect from Maldon in the next 12 months then?
Well, I can say in the next sort of 2 to 5 business days, hopefully we're releasing our drill results. Just going through some QA/QC checks. The guys are working hard on that, and associated images that go with it. So that'll be coming out. And then I think we've got to try and tell two stories at Maldon. So one of them is, and we touched on before, how much, you know, the value of the infrastructure at Henty and things like that. But Maldon's sitting there with a fully permitted on a fully permitted mining license. We've got a process plant that sits there operating right now. Had been treating our A1 dirt. It also does some ore purchase. We've got quite a bit of low grade floating around the region there. So as an asset that's ready to go. So for any other development projects in Victoria, we are so far more advanced. We also have a decline existing into the underground, 3 kilometres long. Certainly needs some refurbishment work and some tidy up, but great position to be able to get back in and do the drilling there. And then on top of that, we have that much bigger footprint. So we need to try and get through and do the work to show a much bigger project at Maldon, not just the decline that's already existing there that we should be rushing into. But at the same time, we have great potential that as soon as we get to something that we say, right, that's substantial enough and we're ready to go, you know, the amount of permitting we have, the infrastructure that's already there. So I think you're going to see us sort of telling two stories in conjunction for the next 12 months at Maldon, that bigger picture story, trying to demonstrate the scale.
And talk to me more about, like, look, you're located in the heart of the Golden Triangle, right?
Yep.
So do you get to leverage off any of the other existing infrastructure, roads, access to resources, and also the workforce around the area as well?
Yeah, so lots of positives in terms of all of that. You know, we've got bitumen roads right up to the door. We've got the town of Maldon sitting right there as well. So in terms of accommodation options and things like that, it's great. Grid power to site there.
Wonderful.
Already. A little bit of tidy up we need to do to that. We've got 3 offtakes that we need to get into one offtake there. But I'm happy that we'll be able to achieve all of that. So yeah, great position to be in. We're not out in the middle of nowhere setting up a project from scratch. In terms of other people that are around, you know, our process plant, certainly a bit of a strategic asset, a little bit underutilised at the moment, I'm 100% honest about that. Possibly for other people, like, you know, we're something they can leverage off rather than us just leveraging off others.
I mean, talk about timelines, right? Like, you've already got a fully permitted processing plant at Maldon, and so a lot of the hard work is done. But how does this actually accelerate the development timeline now? And can you put a time frame for us?
I won't put a time frame on it today. I can say that certainly next year we'll be looking at refurbishing the first portion of that decline and setting up an underground drill position.
Excellent.
Again, at the same time as doing some of the more regional work that we have that we need to do there. What it means is that our hurdle though to go into production is much less. So we don't need to, you know, build up a 1 million ounce resource and go on and build a plant and all the permits, because so much of the work's already been done in that respect. So if we can see that we've got a solid plan for 2-3 years underground, even if it's not at what we could see as an ultimate scale, then it makes sense to progress forward with that.
So Brad, with your academic and your commercial pedigree, how does that position you to take this project forward in the next few years?
Yeah, so I guess as you've touched on, I've been involved in a lot of mine startups and a lot of fix-up, and so you get very trained to be able to see the value in the project and where the upside is. Some of that we're benefiting from right now at Henty, I think. Certainly at Maldon, you know, when we get enough there and we're ready to press the button, we can be very confident that we've got making a very robust decision and we'll get a good result out of it. That transition from, you know, exploration to production is always hard and generally needs a bit of a different skill set, and certainly I think I'm, you know, very, very well credentialed to be able to do exactly that. And
look, history's never really the same, but it rhymes. But what's really unique about this time is we've never seen these gold prices at this level, right? How does that, I guess, position you with more enthusiasm to take this project forward?
As I said before, I'm strongly supportive of the gold price. So yeah, I think we're going to be bringing Maldon forward in a fantastic price environment. I guess just the same comments, I'll hedge that a little bit and say at Henty, you know, we certainly can't go rushing in where we think putting anything at risk on the fact that it only works at those high gold prices. I think, you know, we need to make sure that it's a very robust operation that works through a range of prices, because it's, you know, we need to protect shareholder value, and when we finally do make the decision to go, you know, there will be some capital to spend on that. I'd like to think we've got all of that in the bank at that stage, because we've got Henty sitting there and running and doing very, very well. But yeah, it should be very, very nice.
Thank you. Now look, I guess we're looking now 12 to 24 months. I know you can't put real complete timelines around these milestones, but is there any rough skeleton milestones that we should be watching out for as you continue to grow your production base?
Yeah, so I started Henty as our production base. You know, we've got the throughput up for the mill. We've gone to 400,000 in the trials. We're able to operate quite comfortably at sort of 360,000 tonnes per annum per year, which is, you know, right now there's still some things to fine tune to lock that 400 in. 360 is still 20% above nameplate. And the reality is Henty's always struggled to operate at nameplate, so it's actually a bit more of a leap than it appears, and we're committed to that underground. So over the next 12 months, we're really trying to build that resilience and that increased production rate into Henty. So A, we'll get more ounces, but B, trying to really drop those operating costs on a per tonne basis. So 12 months see us really solidify that, and I think then have a fantastic couple of years after that, as well as continuing with the exploration. At Maldon, I think we'll have a really good picture in terms of scale and what we're doing, and start to really build a good overall data set, news flow, exploration results across the whole footprint, and I expect that we'll be active there in a focused way as well at the same time, and that's probably off the existing decline, but results will drive that. But I think we'll have made some real inroads to that project, and hopefully, what I expect to be able to do is really show the value and the overall scale of that, and get some real good value into the market cap for it, because I think our EV at the moment is completely driven by Henty. And if we show that scale at Maldon, and I think that'll be strongly reflected. And I've got to add at the same time, we've got a real mining company business to build here. Kaiser's not just transforming in terms of the assets, the way we go about the business is also transforming, and we certainly have some strong shareholder support to continue to grow the business beyond just the assets that we have.
Fantastic. I do have one more question. In that case is, a lot of our investors and members already probably have quite a few gold stocks within their portfolio. What do you have to say for those who are considering Kaiser, particularly if they already have other gold stocks, to make another addition? Why Kaiser?
I think if you look at us, you'll see that we're probably valued on a bit of the lower end, which is part of, we've been making this transition. We've had some good share price movement currently, but even just on Henty, I think we've got more valuation to go.
Good.
As we add production and resilience to Henty, I think that's even further to go, and then we start layering Maldon in on top of that. I think we're actually still very, very exposed to that exploration success at Maldon, as well as exploration success at Henty. I think that we have much higher targets, put it this way, for market cap versus where we are now.
So, without putting words in your mouth, you're saying that the valuations right now, just based on Henty, we haven't even considered really Maldon at the moment?
I think so, and I think it's based on probably what Henty has done in the past, and not what Henty's about to do.
Fantastic. Well, look, I guess I'll have to have you back in 6 months.
Gee, that would be great.
Fantastic. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.